This is not by might nor by power, morning manna. Today's bread comes to us from Ephesians 6 and verse 12. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against authority, against rulers, against powers of this dark world, against spiritual forces in heavenly realms. Paul tells us today about who this war is really against. Paul tells us that our struggle is not against each other. That kicks racism right out the door. That kicks sexism right out the door. That kicks any human dispute, wars and turmoils and disputes right out the door. We don't fight each other. If you and I, we're going to divide today's bread into two. If you and I are going to be successful in spiritual warfare, you and I are going to have to identify the right enemy. Your spouse cannot be your enemy. That doesn't even make sense. Think about when you first met your spouse. How can your children be the enemy? The people you pushed out of your body that you spent hours in labor with, they are now the enemy? How can your pastor or your church members, how can your teacher be the enemy? Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not telling you that people don't do evil things. People do very evil things. But if you and I are going to conquer in spiritual warfare, we're going to have to look beyond what the people are doing and look beyond and look to the forces that are doing it. It is the devil that's at work. We don't fight each other. White people against black people and Mexicans and this and that. That's all a smoke screen that the devil has put to distract us so that we don't engage him in battle. If we are going to win this war, we have to recognize the enemy. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood. This enemy can't be killed with guns and knives and sticks and stones and fists. We have to recognize the enemy. And we have to recognize that our weapons, the weapons we have, guns and knives and monies and all that, can't fight this enemy. Because this enemy is not your mother, it's not your father, it's not the person that raped you, it's not the person that abused you. This enemy is the wickedness in dark places. Let's recognize the enemy so that we can defeat the enemy. But we can't recognize the enemy on our own. It's not by might nor by power, but by my spirit, says the Lord.